Hey guys, Drifter here. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit less common for the channel. I'm going to be reviewing a movie, and I know that I've done retro reviews in the past, but this time I'm reviewing a movie that hasn't come out yet. There's going to be a lot of spoilers ahead about the upcoming film 1917. Since this is still a gameplay channel, the gameplay you're going to get to see is me using the Kar 98 in Modern Warfare because it's an actual World War I weapon that's somehow still being used in COD 2019. You may have seen on Twitter that I got invited to a very early showing of the movie 1917, courtesy of Brigade Marketing. I saw it crazy early too, like a full month before release, which apparently is very uncommon, and personally I was hyped for. This is new and fun for me. I very rarely get invited to movie premieres and early screenings and stuff like that, so I was 100% down and on board, and they've told me that I can now talk about the details of the film and review it and tell you about it, so here goes, and I'm gonna try not to be super spoiler heavy, but it's almost impossible to do full review without spoilers, so if you're worried about that, you might want to bounce out. In short, the movie is fantastic. It's one of the best films that I've seen in a very long time, and I say that in that it's a right proper film and not as much of an action movie or genre movie or like popcorn flick, but this was an intentional, serious, artistic, well-crafted film that is designed to be taken seriously. The basic plot of the film, which you'll get in the first couple of minutes, is that it is the year 1917. It's the height of World War I, and there are two messengers that are tasked with crossing no man's land to warn of an upcoming feint attack. The Germans have retreated way back miles and miles across the line in order to fool the British into thinking that they're on the run, and they're expecting the British to chase after them and run into a massive ambush. The aerial photographs have proved that it's an ambush, but the problem is the telephone lines and all the communication messages have been cut, so the only way to get the message is to literally send a message carrier across these lines, and it has been tasked with two soldiers to do so. It pretty much covers every single thing from the camps to no man's land to civilians that are stuck in the middle to the front lines. You get the whole journey across World War I, and one of these soldiers, one of his brothers, is in the other battalion that's supposed to be taking part of this massive invasion where he will almost certainly die, so he's got a unique personal motivation to carry it forward. The film is advertised as being all one take or one shot with no cuts whatsoever, very limited cuts, and it mostly sticks to that minus a couple of truly impossible scenarios. Roughly the first 1 hour of this 2-hour movie has no cuts, which is very impressive. There might be one cut that I couldn't tell if it wasn't where a bomb goes off, maybe because it moves the camera and it's a big bright flash. That might have been a cut. It may not have been. It all flows very, very seamlessly, and it's honestly incredible how hard they had to work to do this. You have a camera that follows two actors for a right proper hour through gigantic pits and craters filled with mud and fake bodies and animals, and they go up and down mountains and across fences, and there's bombs and explosions and gunshots that go off everywhere, and I mean they're like walking across like wobbly bridges that are covered in mud, sliding all around. There's a lot of physical stunts done to perfection and done on slippery surfaces as well. When I was watching this, I was just thinking, like, what happens when they're walking across this muddy bridge and he just slips and falls and busts his butt? Do they keep going with this one take, or do they just go back an hour in time and just start from the beginning? I don't really know, but it was very impressive, and it was everything was built. There was not a lot of CGI in it, so all the craters were real, the bodies were some sort of silicone probably, the barriers, the bombs, the fire, pretty much all of it really happened, of course, in a safe way to the actors. 1917 really pulled me in more than most movies, and it made me feel like I was watching found footage of World War I. The sort of story, the plot stories, the two main characters are friends. One of them got a medal and is a war hero. The other one hasn't seen as much action. And the one that hasn't seen as much action has a brother on the front line that's supposed to be in the attack, so he has a personal motivation to go forward and save him to deliver this message. A lot of the movie focuses on their relationship as friends, and it has some bromance kind of moments. The acting is very on point. It's exceptional. There are no bad actors in the entire film. There's only one female actress, a civilian that you'll see, a French lady that's kind of stuck in the middle of the combat. It's very male-focused, male-driven. That's what it should be for World War I, since like 99.99% of the combatants were going to be men. And it's also not really an action film. Probably about 85% of this movie is not an action film, but like a tense, not quite drama, not quite thriller. There's just a lot of atmosphere, a lot of pressure, a lot of danger, a lot of noise, and not a lot of proper action. But what I do love about the film is that when combat does happen, it literally comes out of nowhere. There's no musical warnings, no visual warnings, no setup. It's just people, walking across no man's land, trying to be careful, thinking they're smart, and then all of a sudden just bullets are inbound and the enemies are taking pot shots at them and people are dying right and left. And the soldiers are forced to take cover behind literally whatever they can and have to fight uphill or into unfavorable, dangerous battles. And that really highlights how scary a gunfight actually is. Soldiers don't announce themselves with cool assassin intros. They're going to sit there and watch you and wait till you're out in the open where your cover choices are really poor and then try to kill you. And in that, it reminds me of Bone Tomahawk a lot. The second half, or maybe last 1/3 of the film, has a lot more bigger action events and a time skip, and these all necessitate cuts. So the film is not one cut. The shots go from being roughly 30 minutes long between cuts to maybe 15 minutes long each, with smaller cuts along the way. But I will say that even the smaller cuts are designed to be nearly seamless. I think 99% of the audience won't notice or care about these. It'll feel like one continuous story told from a character's point of view, and action ramps up significantly at the end up until the final narrative conclusion of the film. When it comes to flaws with this movie, there's only one significant flaw that I can think of, which is that it heavily relies on CGI in just a few critical parts, whereas everything else is real. Probably about 95% of the effect work is real sets, real props, real explosions, real bodies, real mud, real danger, real stunts, real everything. And they're gigantic, they're huge. You just flow from set to set to set to set seamlessly. And it looks amazing. It really does look amazing, no doubt. But then there's a couple of moments sprinkled in here and there. We had some CGI rats that were supposed to be doing different things, and they're very obviously CGI because you can't control real rats in a 1-hour take. Imagine doing this 1-hour take over and over again until the rats get it right. So they use CGI ones. I think some of the bombs are CGI, and the real bad part was at the very end of the movie. There's a big finale with a lot of soldiers, and there's probably about 1,000 CGI soldiers, and they just don't fit in as well. Not that the effect work is bad or that it's poor, but it just doesn't match with everything else being real, really there with real actors and props. It does pull you out a little bit. So overall, I would give the movie 1917 about a 9.5 out of 10 if I had to do a numerical rating, maybe a 9 out of 10. It's a super good movie. It's an almost perfect film. It's one of the best war films I've seen in a long time. It's one that's designed to be taken seriously. This is a film that is designed to win awards and to get notoriety for a significant amount of time for this director. It's not just an action movie, so it really does deliver what it's supposed to. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this movie review. I hope you learned something useful. When it does come out, I hope you check out 1917, and I hope you enjoyed the gameplay too. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.